So no longer having things
Approved
approved.
contingent on one person signing off on it.
Okay.
So I would like to add that to the agenda
Yes.
to discuss.
You are making that a motion.
Do we have to make it a motion, or can we just add it to the agenda? And then we approve,
Add it to, so when we approve the agenda.
then we approve the amended agenda. So is there a motion that we approve the amended agenda?
Move to approve. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The amended agenda is approved. Oh, there, that's yours. I'm sorry. Do I hear a motion that we approve the minutes?
Move to approve. Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Oh. I'm sorry, I thought, what in the world was that? Old business, 5.1.
Madam Chairman, if I could suggest, I haven't got that far yet, but all the way down to 5.4, either considers Mr. Hall or Mr. Barkley, one of the two, that that be deferred till next meeting.
Okay, do we here have a motion, a second to the, was that a motion officially? That we table those?
Yes.
Is there, okay. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And 5.1 through 5.4 have been tabled.
I did have a few updates that I can share for some of them.
Okay, then we'll share the updates, but we will table discussion. I mean,
Any other activity?
we'll table any other activity. Jane, what are your updates?
Just want to make sure that, this is basically on the roadscapes on 5.2.
Okay,
Wayne shared with me that the trees have been delivered today, and that was 4/26. They're being stored in safekeeping out by the fire department. It's appropriate to start planting them. And I could tell after the rain, which I think the landscapers were probably looking forward to, that they've started to break ground on it already, so that looks good. He does not have a price on the monument yet because he was sending that to, he's got to resend it to TDOT. They were expecting just a green sign, so it took them by surprise when they saw what we sent them, even though it met other specifications. So he's having to get it reapproved by then. Patty, you might know more about that.
Yeah, that's basically it. TDOT doesn't always necessarily like pretty signs, and so we have to go through steps. You know, worst case scenario is we might temporarily, just to move forward with the dedication, put up something, a metal sign, just to, you know, move forward. And if he sees it's going to take too long, because, you know, at some point we got to move forward. And so, but I almost hate to do it because then, you know, they were like, oh, they got the sign, we're not going to approve it, but we'll have to decide. We'll see where it gets next week and then move forward. I did just an update. I emailed Dan Cubitt, and then I left a message for Rosemary, but I haven't heard back. But still moving forward with the date being the 22nd at 3. So if nothing else, we'll have to make a decision on what we're going to do.
well, could we not just put up any kind of temporary sign? I mean, not even a green sign. I mean, truly a sign that is nothing like a sign yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And then, so that there's no danger of anyone thinking that's the sign.
right. I mean, I think we can come up with something just to move forward and get the,
about a banner?
Yeah, we could get a banner, do
Yeah.
something to honor and move forward. We've kind of struggled, a little history, you know, obviously we had those wonderful directional signs that was done on behalf of the chamber and with businesses, and TDOT just really liked certain signs and break around. They don't like the structures. And so we're really going to have to go through some steps to get them approved. We thought we were on the same page.
They actually told the guy that lives out here to contact us and let us know and give us X amount of time or take them up, throw them away. They weren't gonna tolerate them being where they were and what they were made out of.
The business signs, yeah.
Business signs, yeah.
Which was the same, type of structure. I mean, we got, it's still the breakaway that they didn't want. So we're still in the process. And Wayne has a appointment, a meeting to meet with the TDOT guy, so.
Any more updates, Shane?
Not on those.
Okay. So we're to 5.5,
Moving right along.
which is just a reminder of the joint workshop.
And I am not going to be here, so if somebody would be so kind as to take some minutes.
I'm not
Some
here either,
notes.
unfortunately.
I think that, Mrs. Hall would be here, I think, I'll ask her, but she takes
Planning
the planning
commission.
commission minutes,
Okay.
I think she'll take the planning commission workshop minutes as well.
I bet she does.
Mrs. Hall, she works,
Yeah.
she works in the code.
All right. So 5.6, items on hold due to hold on funds supporting the roadscapes project.
So that's exactly what it says, it's on hold, we're not, I just did not want to remove it from the agenda because when that fund's released, I want to bring those items back up. So
Okay. Review and provide additional details and informational recommendations
that's
since.
the item on hold.
Okay. Well, hey, we're getting, you wish, Shane.
Okay, where do you want to, well, that would be new business or discussion there, wouldn't it? So
Where did you put it?
it'll have to be 6.2.
Okay, new business, 6.1, dead tree at Stuffy Inn. It's taken me 3 times to look at that to realize what that said. I thought,
Anybody have any information on that?
was that a Mike Berkeley thing?
They may have to, it was either Mike or Wayne that brought it to our attention.
And do we have who do we have to check that?
I can let Wayne know Thursday night.
Okay.
I think it would be all on the codes department too, it's like you would let John Bledsoe know. I think since they're under 1 year, you still have a maintenance bond.
Yeah, you do.
And so it would be reviewed at the end of 1 year maintenance bond. And of course, we can politely mention to them, hey, your tree's dead, you might want to go ahead and replace it. But at the 1 year maintenance, you go do a complete review of what's alive or dead, what has made it, and what they need to replace, where we can call the bond to do it ourselves.
Yeah, they're, last 6 trees I've seen put in, they almost set them on top of the ground and mounded up around them, every one of them are dead. Not there, just over the, Western Hills, did the same thing, so,
Western Woods or.
Western Woods, I mean, yeah.
So we're going to refer that to the
They're
codes
on the woods
department?
anymore, so they call it hills now.
I'll
You
take
said
care
you
of that Thursday
amended,
night.
okay.
Okay, 6.2, the wording. It hit me that if we discuss as a commission, because this has happened a lot, and my fear is that we're doing things and we're trying to approve things to make it easier for builders. And that's a good thing, but yet, is it what we always need to be doing? And I think the church on 96 is a good, here again, the poster boy for what happens when we say, okay, it's approved on contingency of you bringing it back here and Mike Berkeley signing off on it. Mike Berkeley didn't see it. So would it be a good thing, or would it even need to be in any kind of format of rules and regs, that we don't do that? Because it's too easy for that kind of thing to slip through the cracks, and then we have exactly what we have on 96. And as we all get busier, as these commissions get busier, as we have more people come into this city to do stuff, and we say, okay, we're going to approve this on contingency of Mike Berkeley letting us know it's been approved. Well, Mike didn't let us know it'd been approved. We all kind of just didn't think about that. So is that a good thing we're doing? is it our job as protectors of this city to be trying to make it simpler for builders to get their stuff built? Because I kind of think that's what we are. I mean, these commissions, we're the protectors. I mean, we're what protects the city from everything. And so if we're just saying, okay, well, you just go ahead and then we'll let somebody sign off on it, is that the wisest move to be making?
I think the way it played out is not ideal, but I don't think that we're here to make a recommendation. We're not here to do the enforcement. And so I think a correct, proper way would have been Mr. Berkeley to ensure that it followed up, or also a planning codes director that would know to follow up. Because that's what, same thing, we make a recommendation, hits the planning commissioner, it hits the staff should be able to see it through. And that's why they're there, that's why they're the staff and employed. We're a board meeting once a month, it's hard for us to maintain that. But I think that in the future, and hopefully we're starting to bridge that gap, we're starting to get the processes more in place. I think that's one thing Will wants to talk about too, is just trying to, how does it all connect? How can we ensure that the steps connect in the future to where that we shouldn't have to remember a month later, hell yeah, did Mr. Berkeley get to that? You know, hopefully someone is ensuring that the steps that were approved and passed at the tree board or at the planning commission are being taken care of before approvals.
I
Well,
think,
I don't-
Sure, go ahead.
I don't mean to imply that we're the enforcer. What I mean to imply is that we have the right to say, your plan is not right, you have to come back. So I don't mean to say we enforce. I mean to say that if you bring us something and it's not up to what our guideline is, you have to have this, 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 and this, and if you don't have this, 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 and this, then we have the right to say, instead of laying it out at Mike Berkeley's feet, we
He's
have
a
the.
city employee. I know
Right.
he gets paid, but he gets something.
Well, right, but what I'm saying is, we're giving all the power to we're giving all the responsibility to one person, when we kind of have that responsibility, just like the planning commission does, of making sure it's right before it leaves here.
Absolutely. And I don't think that would be a process of his approval. I think it was just voted on that night to decide to take that approach. Mr. Berkeley approves that.
Well, we've
plan.
done that quite often, though, so that wasn't the first time. Tony?
We've had some discussion, just almost along those lines, for the codes department to be one of their steps. When you've got a site plan that includes shrub, trees, is for Mike and the codes person to go to the site together and make a decision whether it's done right or if not. If it's not done right, they gotta fix it, period, before it moves forward anymore. So with that happening, because it's a codes thing at that point, but with Mike there, he can put his professional input in with this is dead, it's not gonna work, this is not what it says, and
Is there a packet that
we've
has that
already, we
information?
discussed that, and I think that's what's gonna happen, so.
There used to be a packet that.
There should be a packet checklist, and that should be in the process. It should be absolutely enforced by codes, and Berkeley needs to,
Well,
Be a
Mr.
part of
Berkeley-
Be
Mr.
part
Berkeley
of it.
sits in the staff
Right.
review meetings prior to construction plans and everything, so he would hopefully have a couple chances to say, hey, I haven't approved this, they asked me to make sure I approve it. They did meet with the meeting place people, and Mr. Bledsoe did say that initial confirmation that things met was skipped on that church meeting
Right.
place. And I think, we might be using the guy that's gone as the fall guy, but I think around that time, the transition of planning codes director leaving is what left that gap there.
But I'm just saying that if we have the option, or if we really think about, if we really, when we have a meeting, we all volunteer our time to come here. If we weren't concerned, we wouldn't volunteer to do it. So it concerns me, maybe not concerns, maybe one of the things we should be taking more notice of is that instead of us saying, okay, check this off, you're good to go as long as it comes back to somebody to check. I don't see the harm in us taking responsibility for what we're appointed to do.
I kind of agree with her point. I hate to, sit there and, make people come back and back. But maybe we need, you got to think about it. Maybe we need to be requiring them to get it right the first time.
That's what I'm saying.
And if they're not getting it right, then that's the consequence, is you have to come back. And we have gotten in this bad pattern and we see mistakes because we've tried to speed it up. I think most of these builders in any city they go to will know the steps. And, you know, in sight of trying to make shortcuts. Now, I think if our procedures were being done right, it would have been okay. Because somebody would have caught it. We would have had those checkpoints. Because like Larry was referring to, not having the checklist
It
and,
has to be in a process and a checklist for every builder, every developer. And we need to
And
be
that- and that's
in
what-
there with the situation.
And that's what they need to start off with.
Right.
Right. And
The
they used
building
to,
problem.
they used to get that.
And so I don't,
I know that Don used to give them a packet. They got a packet. You gotta do this, 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 and this. And Patty, to your point too, it wasn't the first time this guy came. Even the second time, we were saying, you know, if he came the first time, it was wrong. He came the second time, it was wrong. And we were still, and I feel so guilty because I was party to that too. Okay, we will approve this after Mike Berkeley signs off of it. Mike runs his own business. You're right, he's a city employee, but he's not a full-time city employee. You know, we are appointed to do a job. And I think that when we are assured those processes are in place and they're working properly and there's somebody checking behind, then maybe it won't be so bad. But right now, it's kind of like we need to make sure that it's right before it leaves here.
Well, I think you're right, 100%. I think there's gonna have to be something, though, in the way of the timetable, from the time that's put out, the timetable to get back to us, either to this committee or somebody on the committee. It may not have to be the whole committee, but somebody that's with the committee, they should have responsibility for looking, you know, double checking it. Because, you know, you're talking about holding up the contractor, it costs them money, it costs the city money, they're going over everything and all the holdups. But again, it's not getting done. So maybe a way of looking at it is somebody who could look at it from the committee, see that it's done.
well, it needs to be more than one inspection done on it. Then you
Yeah.
have, somebody goes out there monthly and looks at the status and where it's at.
Well, the code
Still haven't done this right here.
inspector.
Well, but part of the problem right now is we're running so
Yeah.
short-staffed.
Well-
You got,
And-
Whoa, Jane?
I don't think it's something that we need to put in writing. I think it's a decision we can make as a board. And I think a lot of it may depend on how serious it is. If it's one tree that's the wrong specimen, I have no problem with saying, replace that one specimen, get Mike to approve it, make sure it's on the list, and we're fine. Something a little more serious, we may just want to say, you know, and it could be just by vote, we're not going to vote to do that. I think that's a decision we can make. We've seen what we've had seen now with the meeting place. I think that'll just make us more aware to say, well, before we do anything contingent on, let's think it through and see what the consequences are. Also, if they get the checklist and the process in place, then it kind of makes it
A little
a
easier.
little easier to not be as concerned if we do decide to make something contingent.
And I agree with Patty too. Builders who come here, this is not the first place they've built. And if they've built anywhere else in Williamson County, they are accustomed to making sure their stuff is right. And I don't think it's gonna have somebody to move out of town and not build because we also are making sure their stuff is right. So that's, you know, if that comes up, and that's something I want us to really think about before we just, you know, okay, well, all right, you need to do this, 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 and this, and as soon as Mike signs off on it. So I guess that's what I want us to think about, is just make sure that we're doing what we're sent here to do.
I'm quite sure if they go to Franklin, or Brentwood, or to the county,
A lot tougher.
Oh,
it gets
yeah.
done, or they don't get it done.
Exactly. So why are we any different?
Well, the cheapest land around.
Well, and which means even more, they're gonna be here.
Well, they're coming, there's no keeping them out.
No, we don't have enough money for lawsuits to keep them out.
But we can certainly enforce our code
That's
starting here.
exactly right. And I don't mean just these codes, I mean all the building codes we got coming up. I don't think the codes here, from what I've seen, are particularly tough.
I don't know,
I don't want them to be.
we
I think they
put,
should
we
be
put
done.
things in motion in the planning commission to where before we can go back out, you have to have 2 signatures on everything.
Yeah,
And that may be what we're looking at in the future, just to make sure.
And maybe that needs to be every commission, every board.
You just gotta be careful not to put a stall on everything that we do, because they can't move forward without the approved site plan and this, you know what I'm
Well,
trying to say?
right, but I think just like he said, if they're accustomed to going to Brentwood and Franklin, they're accustomed to coming in and it's right, or they know what's gonna happen.
but the thing is that the committees there put things in place, and then they have a checklist that the city goes to, and if it isn't done, the city won't let them do it. That's how that
You
works.
don't get your certificate of occupation,
right.
period.
But not just that.
You don't
They
move
had-
forward.
They do stop.
You do a stop work order, we
They
should
do
be doing that.
Stop work orders and stuff like that, and that's something that, if they realize you're actually gonna do it,
I don't think we've done but one that I'm aware of in the last 8 years that I've been here, and they actually put one on the Hickory Homes addition up there because he was so far off this thing.
I mean, if.
I mean, you've heard me say it before, go out there and put a stop work order on.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't think it should be a hammer, but maybe it should be a switch. And people
Absolutely.
realize they're gonna be switched.
You know, this is what's wrong. You've got 2 weeks or 30 days to fix it. Thank you, I'll be back in 30 days. If you don't, I'm gonna put a stop work order on it. That's fair enough.
And it depends
I
on
thought
what
that's
it
Wayne
is.
did with the meeting place for.
I think he
So,
did.
I thought
He
so,
told
too,
me
yeah.
he did, but,
They didn't stop?
And they just took off and
No, I
kept doing
think
what
they-
they wanted to do.
no, I think they did after the last meeting.
Yeah, 'cause we had a meeting with all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they do that, they're breaking the law. That's actually, there's legal consequences for that.
Well, I would frankly think they were breaking the law by not following any of the rules they had to set in
Well-
place.
Well, there's some question on whether or not they followed, the planning commission's gonna have to address. I think we may have a scenario of, they're gonna ask for forgiveness instead of permission. I don't know.
Well, you know,
It's starting
forgiveness
to
could
see a
be-
pattern.
We explained to them, look, you can't change anything.
Yeah,
Without permission.
Well, forgiveness is gonna be should be kind of a hard thing. You know, permission may be one thing, forgiveness, I don't like operating the city off that way.
You
That's
can
not
only
the
ask
way
for
to
forgiveness
operate.
so many times.
Huh?
You can only ask for forgiveness so many times until
Yeah, you know,
purposely doing this.
if it's a small mistake, that's not a big thing, that's one thing. But if you're going out here and changing your,
Retention ponds,
Blueprints.
look at your retention ponds.
your
They changed.
blueprints and stuff like, I don't care if it went to a better place or not, just the fact that they changed it without permission.
And we let them know, you can't change anything without permission.
And just put a stop work on everything until it's fixed.
Okay,
Well,
well,
it's noted that we need to, you know, just as a committee, you know, keep that in mind because we're definitely seeing the consequences to
Yes.
the actions.
so we just,
We went through the thing with this subdivision out here where we came back up at us as in a PUD. Everything was like we thought it was in the planning commission, okay, it's good to go, and it wasn't.
and that's what I mean.
It wasn't.
We need to all remember while we're here, what our job is. And our job is not to help developers, it's not to hurt them, but it's also not to make their job necessarily easier if they're not doing what they need to be doing.
Agreed.
And just a little update, because they did have that meeting place meeting before the planning commission meeting last month. And, it may be the most painful way to do it, but I'm hoping for a better update from Mr. Owen next week, because he was going to dig a little further. But during that discussion, we said, the tree board said that this is approved contingent on the tree buffers on the backside, I think the left side. And so we brought up, and then I also said, irrigation was from the tree board meetings. And so Mr. Owen was gonna confirm that those are the things, but that we still told him, that is still something you have to have in place or we can't approve it. So it took the painful process to get there, but I think we're still gonna hold them accountable to what was voted on in this board, you know, back to.
That's the intent right now.
I'm sorry.
That's the intent right now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but it shouldn't be, we think we're gonna, I mean, it should be, we are. I mean, it's,
Well,
That's how they acted
basically,
that night,
a
that we
contingent on
wanted
a
to be right.
contingent.
Yeah. That's how they acted that night, that we want to be right. I think Mr. Owen's gonna dig a little deeper, and hopefully we'll have an update next week. They talked about there, I think it was, they said they moved 5, 10-inch trees in that area down there. But one thing they have to do is they'll have to resubmit an inventory list, and so that inventory list will come in, we'll see how many trees were removed, how many of them were above 10 inches, because that's the caliper where you have to re-replace. And so they can either pay the fee per caliper, or they can increase the plantings, the new plantings that they put in.
Right.
And so if they removed a certain number of trees off the inventory list, they'll be required to install more buffering, in the buffering or anywhere else.
That's what we talked about.
And so we discussed that with them. They seem to understand, but it seems like what they say and what they do is still become,
I was gonna say, in all fairness, they seemed to understand it when they left here the 2 times.
you know.
Well, in cases like that, if you have a contractor who's continuously doing stuff like that, you can actually just not allow him to build.
And Mr. Bledsoe was in that meeting as well, and he's the one that'll have to do the certificate of occupancy. Will Owen will have to do this on-site engineering inspection, and so as long as we can say, you know, they haven't completed those things, surely they wouldn't be able, and that's what we discussed today, is like, you can't get a certificate of occupancy unless these things have been done.
But see, I really think that here again, they're going on, we'll get forgiveness, and they just think that, okay, we've got it built, and they're just gonna go ahead and let us move in.
Yeah, I sure hope not.
Don't think that's gonna happen.
Can we, can we see the packet that they give builders? Can we? have somebody-
Yeah,
can
we
somebody
have
bring us
it.
one that we
Yeah,
can-
we'll bring one.
I'd like to see that and
Um,
see what exactly,
I'll make sure that they bring it to the workshop. How about that? And then, but the problem is, if they're given that packet, we need to see who in the office. Is that gonna be Wayne as codes director, or is that gonna be John? You know, and I think that's some of the missing links. It exists. You know, are the builders
Who's checking the
getting it?
blocks?
Who's checking it? You know, if a builder is coming to, a meeting and they're being told, oh, yeah, that's fine, and then they are running with it, you know, we just gotta figure out, you know, the process and kind of what's happening, so.
And I think too, I mean, one of the things we've discussed here, if there'd been a process in place that before they had the first piece of equipment, moved the first piece of dirt, that someone is responsible for doing a site survey, okay, you've got all your stuff in place, you're ready to go.
That's what Mr. Bledsoe said got missed on this one. That's what he said, it didn't happen because of the transition.
But someone should still been aware they were getting ready to build out there.
I think they just didn't realize that those tree things had been added, and no one confirmed that it had been added to site plans and things like that. And Mr. Owen, I think, the city engineer has taken a lead on the codes things with the absence of a codes director in the last few months. So I think that he will be able to answer every question with full disclosure next week when he's here. And then he's not in these meetings, he might not ever get these minutes, and it's just trying to close that loop, like you're saying, dedicate people to this is what you need to be doing, and this is how it works, and then get everyone in loop. So we know when something leaves our table, who's gonna take it, you know, and then we can call that person and say, well, it didn't get followed up, you know, try and understand what's next. All of us understand the steps in place, so when someone asks us, if a developer comes and asks us, we can go, this is how it works. Like you said, we have the plan, we have the packet, and these are the steps it takes, and here's how we play a role, and here's who plays the next role.
But I think that it's still one of the bigger things, and I think you've told me that doesn't happen, that once they leave here and the city has checked off, okay, you've done this, 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 and this, before they actually start building, who goes to that site to make sure that they've done everything they were supposed to do? Are we trusting every developer just to do it without checking anything until the first inspection is due?
The tree protection plan is a gray area.
Not the tree, but I
What
mean,
else would they be setting up before site? Like,
well, why is it a gray area?
that plan doesn't necessarily call out what protected areas are, and what trees should be protected, and how far the fence should be. It's more of an inventory list. It doesn't.
No, there's
Yeah,
No, there is fencing.
there is
on the one
fencing.
tree, and that's why they had to wrap that one tree. 'Cause
No,
we
there's
said
fencing in the rules for all the,
in the rules, but not on that particular, there's no tree protection plan for that site. So,
But I'm not, okay, I've gone, but I mean, any site. Any site that's being built on, is there a plan? Is there a site check before they actually start? Because I think we've discussed this before. I can say, yes, I'm doing all this stuff, but then when I go out there and bring my bulldozers in, is there any check before they start that yes, you have done all the city requires for you to do, for you to start building? Is there something like that?
That's what I'm saying, what would you be checking
Well, one of the things you would
if it
check,
was still unchanged ground?
if there's a tree inventory and the trees are marked where they're at, then you would have a checklist of these protected. That's what we're talking about, checklist. And that's the kind of things that keeps this from happening, is all that stuff being done up front.
And what was it they moved without coming back to the planning commission? The
Retention
retention
pond.
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 So when would that, if Mike had gone out there and caught that long after they started building, who would have eventually discovered that was different
At the site inspection at the end,
at the end?
because that wouldn't be there at the start. They built that retention pond. I mean,
They didn't
city
move
Fury
it, they
can't
built
manage
it.
their
No way to
day-to-day
please
job.
confirm
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
But, okay,
But so like the tree, let's say, if you want to go to that, go back to that, I mean, I guess we could have, put it in part of it where the arborist has to go out there first and, pay him to go out there and make sure the trees are, protected, the ones that are designated. I mean, that step's not there, and I think that's what we talked about.
That could be part of the permit, that this is a fee that you're gonna have to pay.
And the tree permit stuff needs to make sure it's done first, and then, after it's checked off, maybe that's one more step that you
Yeah, because
could.
that way, when it comes to planning commission, they can say, okay, these trees right here, what do you plan on saving, not saving? So how do you gonna either replace them, or this is gonna cost you X amount of money? And that allows the planning commission to move forward in a,
More informed, say.
more informed way, and understand what's going on. Because if they don't have that, the planning commission, what can they do?
and supposedly that's coming up from here, going to the planning commission.
Yeah, I mean, as far as you see this, yeah, if you go in there and you see the site and it has the count on it, and if you have a set of plans for the site, then you can actually look. But if we don't get plans here and the planning commission is taking care of that, then we can say, okay, trees are such and such. We don't even have to full set of plans, but we can have one sheet, that basic sheet that gives that
And
information.
they used to do something like that. There was, we had the inventory at the planning.
On the site plan.
Yeah,
I think that when
we had
Don,
it
I'm
over here
telling
on
you,
Cardi's.
when Don Lavorne left, suddenly there were gaping holes in connections. I mean, it was like, because we always had those inventory sheets, they went on up to the planning commission knew that we had signed off on them. Here's what they've got to protect, here's what they're having to replace, here's how much money they're having to put in the tree fund, and it was there. And now all of a sudden, it's like none of that is transferring anywhere.
Well,
That's what, that wouldn't be following what our ordinances say. That would have been incorrect. As proper as it seems and right as it seems, and we should be doing, it wouldn't be what our ordinances say, how they work. And I think that's where the gap happened, is where he was doing things because that's how he knew to do things, not because it said it in an ordinance somewhere. Because that's what he was used to, he had become accustomed to. And so now Will is helping take over, and he's following the ordinance to a T. So he's following the book, the Bible, of how it's supposed to be. And then it's skipping some things now that would have been what he was doing before. And that's that gap we got to close, of getting it back, the system back in place. Of
Yeah,
this how it should
yeah,
be.
even Hardy's
Johnny,
down
was that
here,
your
their
understanding?
trees
It's
and
not the
stuff,
ordinance?
all their trees went over, all their shrubs went over, and they were either approved or not approved. And that's the way every development should be done, just like Hardy's should be done. And these problems won't come up.
Problems not coming up is a good thing.
Well, yeah, it makes it easy. It makes it easy to build, it makes it easy for me, it makes it easy for everybody.
Yes. And it makes it easier for us to answer questions when we're questioned. Okay. Tree bank funds. Does anyone know?
It's about $8 more than there was last month. Wayne hadn't gotten a bank statement then, but our interest is a little, $8 or something
$8.
each month, so.
So we earn $8 every month.
Hey, that's $96 a year.
That's right. So I have to pay Mike Berkeley to
Two
go out and look
trees.
at the, that's right. Any citizen comments? Yes, ma'am. Put my glasses on so I can hear.
Just refresh my memory, when we get a development coming in and there's buffer zones on the road, does that come before the Oh, okay, all right.
Anytime there's anything being built that requires buffers, that's what happened, the church, for instance. When they brought their plan in, there was no buffer. According to what we thought was the ordinance, and we presume still is, there has to be a buffer zone. So that's one of the things we had them to do. They had to put in all these trees to buffer the neighbors, so that headlights and that kind of stuff would not be bothering the neighbors.
Yeah, like on Cumberland, that new development, and the planning commission, I believe, has suggested buffers and then the homes, but that comes through here then.
No, the zone does not. The buffer zone does not come through here.
On the residential.
On
it's not
residential.
Coming through.
That's one of the things we're discussing, that the tree board used to have.
Okay,
So that's one of the things we're discussing.
okay, good, all right, thank you.
That's what they're looking at for every site that goes in, commercial or residential houses affecting. It's basically called quality of living.
In our original wording, in our original, what we thought was the ordinance, it was that subdivisions came here and commercial buildings came here. So that's kind of one of those things we've kind of lost and don't really understand yet, so.
Commercial buildings still do residential.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, there's a workshop for the planning commission next
Yeah,
week that I think will help,
Okay.
help close some gaps.
Yeah,
That's a good reminder for the next item, is about the workshop. Next Tuesday, 6 o'clock, correct?
Yes.
Or is it Thursday?
Thursday.
Tuesday.
Thursday.
Tuesday.
Thursday.
Is it Tuesday
It's the
or
10th.
Thursday?
Let's see, planning commission.
Okay, so I'm getting,
You're here every.
y'all don't know how many I go to, so,
It is on the-
Thursday, we have a meeting,
This
but I don't think
Thursday,
we have a workshop.
and
So
I'll,
it
and I'll
says
be a little bit
joint
late.
Workshop with planning commission, May 10.
Which is a Tuesday.
No, I am here.
Okay.
You're this Thursday,
I'm
next.
here, yes, next Thursday, I'm not.
I'm
So
gonna be,
you'll
I've got
be
the
here
Boys and Girls Club thing.
May 10th, May 10th.
I'll be here, but I may be running a little late. It starts at 6.
Look,
So I'll
look,
just
I've got this
eat my
wonderful
$500
thing here.
hamburger.
So Patty, you will be at the
It's
workshop?
Tuesday.
I won't be at the workshop.
Okay. And I won't either, so, okay.
You
And
heard
it's
me
at
right.
6 o'clock.
If there's no more discussion, our next meeting date is June 7th. We are adjourned.
We have a workshop next